you're into a Braum. Braum's not known to be immensely punishing in his lane phase, and against two champions that are just looking to skate through the lane phase, Jinx, Braum, a perfect lane to pick Kaisa Yumi against.
Yeah, I really like this. We're starting to see a lot of adaptation coming in the league after so many weeks of a very stale bot lane meta. We're starting to see some changes. We're starting to see a lot of adaptation. It's happening around the world as well on 12.4, and clearly the teams in the PCS have been taking note as well. This is going to be an exciting one. Again, a lot on the line in this because a playoff lock is huge for both of these teams. It is top 8 that will get in, but you can start putting yourself in pole position early. Getting that lock does give you some relief, and see where you go from there. I think Meta Falcon team, they're going to have a tough challenge in particular, but they did draft themselves really well for the Wombo combo that they like to pull off. On the opposite side, Frank Esports definitely showing some strength on their side, and I'm super excited to see this bot side. Eminem has definitely proved he can be a pop-off player.
Yeah, so here you actually have options to go for either AD or AP Kaisa because you are getting a little bit of magic damage from that Yumi pick. But for the most part, I would like to see the Crown Kaisa come out, just because for the side of MFT, this is very much an all-in composition. The Crown will give you that extra durability, and it also adds that extra magic damage and poke ability that MFT don't necessarily have an answer for. So you can just kind of spam W, and MFT just kind of have to make sure they dodge every single one of them.
Absolutely. Did see that AP Kaisa build earlier today. In fact, if you were watching North American LCS, if I recall correctly, it was on Luger from CLG who was able to play it out. Yeah, he did. He went Ludens, Muramana, and then Void Staff and Nashers, and it was kind of like it was kind of actually disgusting. Hail of Blades, of course, picked up on that Kaisa side, and it is once again the Predator Galio, so we are starting to see some things settle in.
And at the very least, for MFT, this is sort of their bread and butter mid-jungle combination. Wen gets his comfort champion, which is what we've not seen him on for a while, and we'll see if Frank Esports are able to keep up with this Galio, because we saw earlier Galio is just really, really powerful. But interestingly enough, Pretender against this very low range composition on MFT has decided that he doesn't need the phase rush, and instead he's gone for the Conqueror.
Oh, apologies. Had the mute on there for a little while. Yeah, what I was going to say, it feels bad when you're playing topside, right? And the champion you pick gets countered by a better version of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's can't catch a break.
Silas is, it feels like a lot of times when he has great ult setups, he uses those ults just a lot better than the champions those ults were designed for. Like, Mega Gnar is just, it's great when you can have it available to you and use that Gnar ult, but it's only available for a very brief moment of time. It's very specific.
That's very true. Ooh, Eminem taking a lot of damage off that Winter Spike combo, and Renhau tanking it up. 665 getting into the jungle of Polo. Actually, if the Winds of War come off, we might have a little tussle here over the chickens, and Pretender trying to lead the charge, flashing in. That's going to be the taunt off. I think we've got first blood, and we do. It's over to 665.
Yeah, Pretender Hollow very disjointed in their approach, and I mean, we kind of saw this coming in from Mission, right? Where he got very aggressive with the Predator Boots approach here in lane, and that netted them a flash onto the mid laner, whereas this time it was more targeted towards the jungler, and Pretender, his pathing not quite there, leads to him also losing his flash, and that will also result in a red buff taken away by MFT, and MFT have set themselves perfectly in this early game.
Yeah, this is a really good start for the Meta Falcon side at the moment. Well, See if they can get even further ahead in this one. Taco continuing to try and trade well up against the side of Kurt. And I am curious to see what the comeback mechanics will be, right? We've talked up Pretender a lot, but, you know, he's going to be playing the tank Rise this game. His output's going to be a little limited. I feel like Frank have kind of put themselves in a position where they need Eminem to be the big carry.
Yeah, Eminem is certainly going to be a bit of a focal point. I'm actually interested in seeing like what kind of build Pretender ends up opting for, given that we do see the Conqueror. Maybe he ends up building something with a little bit more oomph. That'll be just something to try and keep track of here. I do think there's going to be a lot of merit in going a little bit more bruisery and tanky in this instance. And but it would also still mean that Eminem is holding a much larger responsibility when it comes to dealing damage.
And that's something that has suited Frank Esports well in the past, right? I mean, Eminem did pick up that MVP award just because he was able to dish quite a lot. Definitely want to keep an eye on what he ends up doing this game for his build as well, because we have talked up the ADAP so far in this game. And I do think there are a lot of options there, especially depending on what Pretender ends up doing. So they can keep Meta Falcon team guessing a little bit. But while we talk about that, a really good trade by Whale and Renhao to actually force them out of lane. And we start to see the Jinx of Whale overpower just a bit.
And it makes sense, right? Because this Kai'Sa, while on 3 items, it feels really, really disgusting if you're playing AP. On 2 items for AD, feels relatively strong. In the lane phase, she's just not at all.
Feels bad, man, really.
So you need a couple of offerings given by your opponent, whether it is through their champion picks or just them playing overly safe in lane phase, to really take advantage of this Kai'Sa. So right now, though, I mean, you have such power in your mid jungle. They've just gone ahead, rotated over for this dragon. So MFT, this early game, great. Now we have to see them be able to transition this one, as Taco might have overextended.
Yeah, I think he's just baited himself there. Narbar almost up as Kurt was trying to, but back to the safety he walks. I think maybe Hollow showed his cards a little bit too fast there. Frank's still trying to find a better opener. 665, meanwhile, wants to make a return to the mid lane. Pretender has no flash.
There was certainly an opening there in that top side just to set up a very quick dive. You hit level 6 onto Gnar, and then you just go ahead, ult him into the wall before Taco is able to hit level 6. But again, as you mentioned, showed their hand just a tad early, and now MFT in very nice setup here to try and capitalize onto Hollow's positioning, but Hollow is nowhere near. You could say it's a bit of inefficient pathing for his own jungle, but at the same time, it actually keeps him alive just a bit longer.
That's true, but a little bit of a tough situation to be in as 665 starts off on the blue. Lascone, gonna see that happening, and uh-oh, I'm getting counter-jungled.
Yeah, and the issue is the Galio is going to be able to cheat over a lot easier, and you also have a Yuumi Kai'Sa, which doesn't give you any bot lane priority. That's the big issue with the Kai'Sa, is that you pretty much lose every single trade, and now Pretender out in no man's land.
Yeah, one more time, Audacious Charge, and the Shield of Duran means that he's going to get 1-2'd, and just before his flash comes off cooldown, man, I mean, we've been talking Pretender up. This might be the worst start we've seen from him in a while.
It's definitely been a bit of a bad look for him in this early game. We haven't seen this form of him since the let's just play Victor mid lane days. And you could also say the Rise doesn't exactly play like an assassin either, or big playmaking sort of champion that he has gotten his hands on before, like the Vex, which, though still winless, has looked pretty good from a mechanical standpoint.
Yeah, but those bread and butter champions have been getting punished. They showed very early, and MFT clearly came with a game plan to deal with it. So, 2 kills onto 665, looking for a third. Flash for flash. I think you take that trade because Pretender's been set so far behind already up against this Galio, but he's got to be careful. 665, I mean, could be in trouble. Renhouse stepping a little far forward, but he's in the problem. They tag back in 2v3, but it's not just two, is it? Because the Galio's coming into the party. Onslaught of Shadows from Holo. They do knock him up, interrupt him. Eminem is here, but so is the rocket from the Jinx. They turn on Holo for the quick kill. Exhaust onto Eminem. Oh no! That was going to be, Renhouse did not have his ultimate in that, and 665 feeds the gold back to Pretender.
Ooh, that was a very, very slim edge there. If he gets that kill and lives just long enough to get that proc on his Triumph, it could have ended up in 2 more kills for 665. But we see the side of MFT. I mean, 665, this man knows what he wants when he wants it. So he's a very one-track mind. And Frank Esports, they are here in time to respond to it, but a well-placed ult coming in from Whale really turns that fight. Otherwise, this is an absolute wipe for Frank Esports.
Yeah, 665 is adhering to the tenets of the school of Kongye for junglers. Looking very good and aggressive. Unfortunately, runs out of steam just a bit there and allows Pretender to get some gold back on a bounty as well. So that's going to be a breather for the Frank Esports mid laner, but the pressure continues to mount on them right now. With a 2,000 gold lead, Herald going to be started up here. This shouldn't be contested. Hurt's the only one who's really in position to do it. And Frank might be looking to set up a flip on the Dragon, but it's still 45 seconds away.
Yeah, and for the side of MFT, securing this one. I mean, really, they've just kind of got a stranglehold on the objectives early game, right? They got that first dragon. Now they're in position for second dragon, but Hollow trying to kill Whale.
Already pre-flash, but does he have the damage? No, he doesn't. Oh dear. Renhow to the rescue, and that does mean they can't quite get it done. And Rift Herald Eye crushed in the mid. This is going to be first brick without anyone here to try and contest it. As Pretender had been brought bot to try and make a play, MFT just on the up and up when it comes to the positioning. And perhaps the read was a little bit wrong there from Frank.
Now, Frank Esports seemed to be a little bit behind on the play. Now, K2 Eminem. Oh, maybe they, yeah, they are just going to go ahead, concede this next dragon. MFT get themselves onto 2. We'll see what kind of dragon soul we're going to have.
Ooh, Inferno.
Yeah, Inferno. So, Inferno helps out considerably for both squads because MFT, you know, melee, you'd like to have a little bit more burst for that Wombo and the side of Frank Esports. If this ends up being an AP Kaisa, all the more reason to go AP Kaisa now. She's going to hurt from infinite range. That's one of the plus points coming in from an AP Kaisa. You kind of suck in all-ins, as I'm sure many players have found out in their ARAM games. But when it's not an all-in, and you just poke endlessly, press W over and over again from infinite range, the other team has no other choice but to just malt. Yeah,
I think there's not a lot else they can do. Ooh, interrupt! Not much they can do to follow up, but that was cheeky. Yeah, there's so many deep wards here from Frank down bottom side. It looked like they really wanted to hard commit to that dive lifestyle, but unfortunately for them, they haven't really been able to find an answer on Whale. And I do think Whale and Renhow have been playing really well together against a powerful duo of Eminem and K2. Admittedly, it's the Jinx versus Kaisa, but still.
Yes, they've held up well, and 665, I love that aggressive approach towards that blue buff. Helps out that it is, of course, Inferno Rift, so he can just book it straight at that buff. It forces the smite to come down from Hollow, and that means Pretender gets blue buff denied away from him, which is relatively important to make sure you speed up and accelerate stacking that tier. But he is almost fully completed on that item, and I look at the rune choices here, and I feel like I'd love to have seen Hollow take the Conqueror and Pretender be the one to have the phase rush rather than the other way around. You need that extra mobility when you don't have the flash available on the Rise, whereas on the flip side, they're 4 melee. Like, Conqueror is really, really nice here. for this Hecarim.
Speaking of the Hecarim, Holo does want to try and push off this tower. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Last plate secured.
Defender's here, though.
It's now or never. You got to go in, but they're actually keeping them at arm's length, so the tower won't fall, but all of the plates get destroyed before the end, and it's MFT that have just done so much better on these towers, even knocking down 2 in the mid lane. Eminem's going to have a while to get online. We've been keeping an eye on his build right now. He's got a serrated Dirk and building towards a Muramana.
Yeah, a lot of scaling itemization coming in from Frankie Sports.
Oh, at 665.
665.
He knows he's got backup. It's the
Galio.
hero's entrance, and immediately Eminem blast cones away. Holo uses his ult for the defense. They just don't have the damage. And Taco's on Kurt. Oh no!
Nara action!
He finally gets Mega Gnar, but he doesn't want to use his own ult right here. There it goes. The rocket misses, and he's forced to flash away.
Wait. Okay. Interesting. This is a hull breaker. Gnar, by the way, flashing away from the trade. That's never a good look.
Yeah.
Especially since you essentially complete that item to take the 1v1s. Now 665 may have overextended. This time he doesn't have Galio ult.
Okay, he burns the flash to get away from that one. Yeah, okay, so a little bit of overextension and a little bit of questionable engage plays on either side there. Man, Kurt, yeah, if you are bailing out of a fight when you're the one with Hullbreaker, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah, it's not a fantastic look in that regard, and now it's tough to see where Frank Esports get back into this game immediately because they're scaling. And it feels bad to say that because there's really nothing else, right?
Yeah.
You're waiting for these items to transform. You almost can't take a fight because you're playing with half an item.
They need to knock
these
down
items are
towers.
completed, but they're not in their final form.
Yeah, it's going to be a little while, and unfortunately, towers are going to be hard for Frank to take right now because it's just really good split defense with the 1-3-1 coming out from MFT here. It's going to be difficult to get a push on. All that standing gold isn't going anywhere, and Frank can be on the offensive if they want. That Death Brush is sort of sniffed out by Renhao, and that's going to be the first dragon. Frank are in position to try and start it. It would be first for them, I mean. But the rest of Meta Falcon team are here when just hits level 11. This is a big spike, and yeah, you're right. No Narbar on this one. I think you have to give it up.
Taco's coming in from the side. He'll be able to secure his own Gnar ultimate, and again, he has better Gnar.
Okay, this buys a moment here. If Holo can come in for the steal.
To go soon.
665 in the back of the pit, tanking it up, smited down, and the go button is pressed. He's into his ultimate, and now they're just going to tag their way once more. Holo just going to get knocked up along with K2 and Eminem. It's a beautiful fight there from Meta Falcon team. Wales running wild, and only Pretender lives.
Oh, man. I mean, this is why we don't see Wen's Galio. It's just... It's very similar to Uniboy and, well, not to the same degree, but it's similar to giving Uniboy his Zoe. It's just, this is a completely different team, and what they can do on the map changes drastically when they get this particular pick, because you see the zone control coming in, the decimation onto Frank Esports. This is, again, a fight they're taking without item transformation, so it makes no sense for them to take this fight because they're essentially fighting with one arm tied behind their back, but they take it nonetheless, and that's going to have huge ramifications because essentially you're going to lose that third dragon regardless. But now you've given them a lot more gold to work with. They now acquired that second Rift Herald, which, while it doesn't offer you additional plate gold because there's no plates left, the potential to just get a tier 2 is really explosive because then you can just fully control the vision in a particular quadrant to either focus for Infernal Soul or try and get that Baron.
Yeah, this is starting to look a little bit rough for Frank because they needed time, but they kind of shorted themselves on it right now. You could have just backed away. They clearly didn't want to take the engagement, but they weren't committed to just backing off of it, and as a result, they lose out huge. And now the damage threats start to be developed. You see the Kraken Slayer and, of course, the Phantom Dancer on the Jinx. Really good positioning there for Whale, and great defense for the team, allowing him to open fire. And also, Wen just was watching Mission earlier and says, hold my beer, because he's got some damage items starting to stack right now. 7 stacks on the Dark Seal. I would not be surprised if we saw the big book coming out again. And Hurt is deleted off the map, courtesy of Taco and 665. It's open season on towers. Sure, Pretender gets an objective bounty, but, I mean, that's about it.
Pyra.
Yes,
PCS Nar strikes again.
It does. Again, there are a few rules in PCS. One of them, don't give Uniboy Zoe. 2 of them, number 2 is, don't play Gnar if your name's not Hanabi.
And now it's a Rift Herald getting a charge on
Inhibitor.
To an inhit.
They might want to just end this right here. Oh, we have a real chance at a Dancing Shelly. It's not going to happen, but that would have been something.
That's
but
almost a full Nexus Tower down, though. So,
yeah.
like, this is a very...
This is a 9k gold lead at 20 minutes.
Rough spot is an understatement, I think. Not sure if that's what you also think, but rough is certainly an understatement.
If you are a Frank Esports fan right now, you're definitely sweating a little bit because this is terrifying. Pretender, yeah, it doesn't even want to take the party portal. You need time.
Get some vision.
Yeah. I mean, it's something. At this point, something is better than nothing. One thing we do want to check in with is of course, the build on the Rise, because we asked about...
Okay,
Seraphs. We have a Seraphs, okay.
So... that makes it even stranger why he wouldn't go for the Phase Rush. Yes, you get healing from both Seraphs and Conqueror, and Conqueror also gives you a little bit additional damage on top of it, but at the same time, you love to have the extra movement speed because you are a little more squishy on this champion, and you should just rely on, using the move speed and then being able to get additional spell rotations off to get that health back. As Seraphs, in its current iteration, isn't quite the power tool it used to be, just giving you a lot more AP, but rather it gives you healing on spell casts.
Yeah, so a little bit curious there, and I think there have been a number of curious choices from Frank Esports. This is a 21-minute Infernal Soul, by the way, completely uncontested. That is rough. That is the definition of rough if you're facing it down. You better hope you got late game.
Yeah, I'm running out of... I mean, I didn't have that many song references to begin with, but...
You blew them all in the last game with the
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to reference this game.
You know what? I got one. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. There we go.
I was about to go... MFT came in like a wrecking ball.
Oh, okay. Your music taste is a little bit different than mine, my dude. But you know what? That's okay. Let's see if this Baron can get finished up. Meanwhile, Taco kind of just holding the line. Here's the chance for the steal. It doesn't go through, though. Holo tried, but the smite was not right. And now the fight will go in favor of Meta Falcon team. They lose Taco, but they do trade for Holo and the Baron. Net gains here as MFT looking to cash in. Big time.
Yeah, MFT, the price was right for them in that fight because they get they go 1-for-1 and they get the Baron. They also have super minions up in that top side. They can essentially just escort that super minion wave to just go ahead and end the game because there is no front line remaining left for the side of Frank Esports. Remember, this is a damage Rise and he doesn't have the extra mobility, although Holo's still back in here, but his itemization isn't exactly quite there yet. They are looking for the engage. They need to find one before the game just ends.
They got one Nexus turret to try and hold things on here. Kurt does get a massive Gnar ultimate. Maybe that's a chance as 665 gets taken up by M&M. Taco going in gets instantly exhausted. They have to make a beeline back to the fountain because they lose Kurt in the engage. But the wave is gone. Frank Esports are clinging to life. They don't even go for the full heal. M&M, he would need to go deep there on the Killer Instinct, but it's a dangerous game to be playing. And I think MFT don't have enough substance to finish this.
Wow, that's actually massive because now M&M, he has the Nashers completed and he has the Muramana completed. So he's actually in a decent power spike. Just needs that third item, which probably won't come in until the game has clearly flipped in much closer to their direction. But it's certainly a start. And now we're looking, maybe Hollow gets a little bit more tanky. At the very least, he's going for a tanky build here, given how far he's kind of set himself behind. But MFT are also clear power breakpoints because you look, there's double Zanyas, there's double stopwatches. This fight is very, very difficult for Frank Esports to win because of how many stasis are available for MFT.
Not to mention the pure stats diff right now. Full Soul Infernal against the likes of Frank Esports having absolutely nothing.
They need the poke to land coming in from M&M. He is playing a little bit of that AP Kaisa version flare, so this empowered W's coming in with the Yumi buff. They need to land like 10 of them.
Yeah, in a row, and they're out of inhibitors. Well, one back up on the top, but that could be an easy rotate here. As 5 members strong, MFT managed to break bot lane. One Nexus turret is all that stands between them and victory.
Kurt has to find a way in. Mega Gnar's going to expire, and now, like, MFT, they can just go.
665, he does get caught for a second, stuck in a rune prison, but Kurt is going to get knocked and bopped and rooted, and Whale takes him down. Here goes the Hecarim ultimate, but it is too little. It is too late. M&M and Pretender can do nothing but watch their Nexus fall. The meta Falcon team.
MFT, this was the